Hello. I have always held moral high ground when dealing with personal trivial matters. I've had a couple failed relationships that taught me to not trust most females, but I still believe in love, hoping it finds me with a good lady. I am also a commissioned officer of the United States Army, an honor I hold in high prestige and always answer the call when duty calls. My personal marital situation with my wife, however, has become a pain in my heart. Things went bad between us, and this time, I went full savage mode as I refused to be a gentleman anymore to these females. I carried out a petty retribution revenge which I'm not proud of, but this is my story. I am 39 years old. I met my wife 3 years ago when she had just moved out of her small hometown and moved to Texas. I had just gotten out of the military after 7 years of duty and 2 tours under my belt. To be honest, becoming a normal civilian was not easy after my combat experiences, but I will save the details on that and focus on my marriage ordeal. My wife was much younger at the age of 25, but we met at a local bar one night. I was drinking away my tour horrors. She was by herself also, and I managed to walk up to her to strike up a conversation. She seems cool and we hit it off well. She was making me feel normal again, and I was loving her presence and being around her increasingly every day. So after a few months we had been together, I found out that my wife used to have a bad drug use issue in the past. She told me being around me had helped her kick the bad habit, and I was proud that she overcame her demon as she was helping me overcome mine as well. It seemed we both helped each other fill a void in our lives as we complemented each other, and this further intensified our romance. Our relationship began to grow even more as I proposed to her, and she agreed. Shortly after we got married, my wife told me she had always wanted to join the military and went ahead with enlistment into the Navy shortly after our marriage. I was not the biggest fan of the idea of my now wife joining the military. I thought my military experience was in the past. I explained how being in the military can be psychologically draining if she wasn't mentally prepared as I was. Even though I found the duty fulfilling and it's my pride to call myself a vet, it still took me to some dark places mentally as my therapist was still helping me recover. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't my influence and swayed her into joining the service. I decided not to persuade her against it, but supported her decision, playing my role as a good husband. Before she joined the military, however, things had become rocky in our marriage. I tried to think in my head and pinpoint exactly where things went wrong, but I simply could not place it. I have been a good provider, her defender, and pampered her with love and abundance. She just started to seem more irritated at me for little to no reason. It was boggling. Where was the love we started and built our marriage on? I just hoped I hadn't rushed into a lifetime commitment without fully knowing my wife. She was my light at the end of tunnel, but the light is now flickering and dimming out. When I tried to talk to her, she would tell me things are fine, but admitted our love seems to be fading. I don't want my wife falling out of love with me, so I cranked up the time and activities we spent together. I would make sure every Friday night was dinner date and watch a movie afterwards. I started running with her every Saturday morning as she was raising her fitness and endurance to join the Navy. I would even go grocery shopping with her, and every chance I get I spend with her. At some point she started to say I was overbearing and pushing myself onto her wasn't helping. I was making these efforts, but it was futile. I tried to reconnect with her through the things we enjoyed doing together before we got married, but she won't even sleep on the same bed with me anymore after our first year of marriage. She would say the bed was too soft and we needed a firm mattress for her back issues. The same back issues she had no problem sleeping on the couch with or in the other room. We're a new couple. I told her I wanted to sleep in the other room with her, but she would produce flimsy excuses like it was too small to accommodate us both. I suggested we buy a Tempur-Pedic, but it was apparent she just wasn't interested, so I would let things go. She would occasionally come to sleep on our bed. Things was weird out of nowhere, or maybe if I were to take some accountability, I was blinded to my wife losing love interest in me till it was too late. I simply thought everything was all right between us and couldn't read the signs early enough. After her first deployment, what was getting worse became much worse. I couldn't lean in to kiss my wife any longer or show public display of affection because she would cringe and tell me no. Lovemaking was non-existent at this point. She would tell me I reminded her of the time she had a bad forceful encounter and was taken advantage of. No husband likes to hear these types of comments from his wife, and being described to an R-word violator was heart-sinking. I didn't deserve this, and it was not fair. I told her if I had offended her, she should tell me so I could apologize, but she wouldn't open to me. I wasn't diagnosed, but I'm sure I went into depression over my wife's mental abuse treatment and felt even lonelier than I was before I met her. My mental stress level was off the chart, but I tried to hang in there hoping my wife would come around. She went for her second deployment, and when she came home this time, she told me she wanted to divorce. My heart sank further. After I heard this honestly, it felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer and landed multiple blows to my heart. It felt like it was about to explode. I told her I thought we were working on our issues. I told her I didn't even know we had issues or what her issues was in the first place, and that's when she laid it on me that she was having an affair. This was the nail in the coffin for me. I asked her how long this has been going on, and she truthfully confessed it has been about 6 months into our marriage at this point. I was now getting furious at myself because I should have known. I wept like a baby that day, even though I was raging and all. What I kept asking was why? 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 I had gone years thinking I did something wrong and tried everything to make things right. She could have spared me the emotional heartache. What was the point of telling me she cheated on me anyway? I wanted to know details about who her secret lover was, and she told me it was a Navy guy she had been seeing around the same time she got engaged to me. Apparently, she developed a thing for men in uniform after she met me and wanted to know more about that lifestyle, the battle stories, and overall experiences. When I wasn't too forthcoming with my stories because of my battle scars, she found someone who was willing to share such stories with her, and they fell in love along the way. At least that was what I interpreted the nonsense she was spewing to me as an explanation. Her secret lover even encouraged her to join the service. When she explained the chronological timeline of the whole thing, it was so baffling to me that I just accepted my fate, that I've been a fool in love the whole time. Even worse than a simp, because here I was drowning myself with drinks every night and driving myself into a dark place mentally. The whole time it had nothing to do with me but a sick wife's uniform fetish. Or what do I make of this predicament? She told me she was sorry and that I could start seeing someone else. All I got in her remorse was sorry? The last couple years of my life with her came down to one word: sorry. She went low, and I was ready to snap out of feeling sorry for myself and play in the mud. I started to plot how to get back at her in a petty outrage. First, I told her before I signed the divorce papers we must see a marriage counselor. Whatever plan she has to go running to her side lover has to wait, because I wasn't ready to sign. This was out of pure spite, because she desperately wanted me to sign as if her lover had given her an ultimatum to break up with me. I became equally disengaged and even started to bring women home into our marital bed as she's half asleep on the silly couch. I told the ladies I bring home that I had a roommate staying with me and not to worry when they see her when we entered the house. I would tell the girls that my wife was the roommate I was telling them about. They would even say hi and addressed her as roommate, and we would just go into my matrimonial bed with the door shut. I dared her to bring her lover into the house I was paying the mortgage on and see what happens. I stopped caring about her, and to my surprise, when I stopped giving her attention, she started to try to initiate engagements and conversations with me. I simply ignored her and respectively made life unbearable for her. She told me we should separate before we finalized the divorce, and I would simply tell her she should feel free to get the heck out of my house. I refused to move to a hotel. I don't know why, but she wouldn't move out either. She booked the counseling sessions and told me we can go for therapy like I wanted, and I would always give her reasons why I couldn't make it. Sometimes I would even tell her I was on my way and wouldn't show after she had paid for the session. My irresponsible actions were now starting to get to her, and she started heavy drinking and eventually went back to her past days of drug use. I took my pettiness to the extreme when I called her command and police to report her for using. I had been working with Naval Criminal Investigative Services, NCIS, to build a case against her. Recorded her videos and collected evidence when she was unsuspecting as I mounted cameras in the house. I didn't care if the videos were admissible or not, but I provided them anyway. She got kicked out of the Navy shortly after getting her promotion and was about to re-enlist to get a huge bonus. She won't be able to use her GI Bill, and it would be hard for her to get a decent job. Her rise to fame and grace became shame and disgrace, and even lost some of her friends along the way. I came home one evening, went straight to her closet, and signed her divorce papers where I had kept them. I'm still not satisfied because I don't think she went through half the emotional pain I went through, but this would suffice for now. Whoever said two wrongs don't make a right has never met an emotionally wrecked man backed against